of the interesting things that happens when the web is created in the early 90s is those of us who were in the media business back then, I was there, we started pouring old wine into new bottles. It really sucked. I mean, it was, we were taking a magazine and trying to make it a website. And so it was not what the internet was invented to do, but Ev was able to create Blogger, which was this very simple way to bring a whole lot of people into the ability to publish, but then also the ability to form communities around what was being published. That was something that helps take the web and makes it more into an open and community thing as opposed to something that publishing houses would pour their magazines into.
So Blogger essentially took the architectural knowledge out of the equation, right? And just focused on people with things to say?
Yeah, but I think Walter makes a good point. I think the internet itself, or the web, was really the printing press, but it was, the way I always describe blogging was it was finding one of the web's native forms. And it was people were publishing, obviously people had home pages and people putting magazines and newspapers, but the blog was this native form that only made sense on the web, and it took advantage of the fact that there was, you could publish many times a day. There was no limit. You could publish a paragraph or something very long. You could interact with the readers of the blog, and anyone could do it. And then suddenly you had this new form that took advantage of basically the network, which was there for a few years before we really realized, oh, what do we do with this thing?
One of the things it does is it makes it simple. And that is, to me, one of the themes of digital success. As you walk the alley here and watch people doing things, those who can make something much simpler. And it starts with the video game when Al Alcorn and Nolan Bushnell take Space Wars, which is this wonderful video game that was created at MIT, and says, we're going to make it simple. Just insert quarter, avoid Klingon. That's how simple it will be, as opposed to making it complex. And Steve Jobs was working the night shift, and Woz was coming to visit him, and they do Breakout and other things. And you watch every step of the way, whether it's the iPod, where Steve is fanatic about keeping it simple, or Blogger, when suddenly you could just, something could strike you, it just insert words in box, push button.
I think that's a huge deal. I didn't understand it at the time, but the way I think about all technology now is if you're creating something, your goal is to fulfill some human desire more easily, more conveniently. And it's embarrassing at the time that I didn't realize it because we required you to have your own web host for the first year of Blogger. We had no hosting at all, and you had to go set up. And of course, as soon as we removed that barrier, it started to really, really explode.
So how do you see the future of Medium as a collaboration tool that can enable authors to do things like what Walter's been doing?
Well, collaboration has been a theme of Medium since the beginning. And from a very broad perspective, our goal is to say, everyone's sharing their ideas and stories all over the web, and that's awesome. How can we make the whole greater than the sum of the parts by bringing people together and let them build off of each other? It's awesome that someone can create a blog like you did and be their own writer, editor, promoter, marketer, designer. But it seems like we can get more done if we take advantage of specialization and collaboration.
The internet developed with two strands. One was the publishing strand. You can put anything you want up if you're a blogger like you or whatever. And the other is the community strand, which was like The Well and others even before the web was around, gathered people into community. Those have had somewhat of attention. In fact, I think I even quote you when you were originally doing Blogger. You thought of it as a publishing platform, but then it becomes a community platform. And I think joining the publishing power of the web with the community power of the internet, that forming of online, virtual communities, that's where the power lies in the future.